Hi, I'm Becky Winstone, and I'm a student at University of Portsmouth, and I'm now going to read the prologue from Salvation Chronicles in the beginning. In the dawn of time, there were two races born. The first were the Guardians, who lived in relative peace and harmony on the world of Avalon. The second were the demons of Duat. Duat was a world of true despair. It was a pit for the fallen. Despite these two races' differences, they were worlds apart and for the time being would never meet. Both of these races wielded great power and strength, with magical abilities. These races were divided into groups. Some were sorcerers, also referred to as mages. Others, there were warriors, some of which were leaders. Others were great inventors and craftsmen, but none stood taller than the Chosen. The Chosen were a group of individuals whose power were greater than any major, and as strong as any warrior. Capable of summoning great deities at will to do their bidding, the Chosen were regarded with the highest esteem among both races. When asked why, you could argue it was out of fear and respect for their power. Then as time passed, the races progressed. In an age of prosperity, they managed to make leaps into space. The Guardians of Avalon explored and colonized thousands of worlds, while the demons of Duat conquered them. Within 100 years, they had stretched their empires towards a very different planet. One which neither terraforming nor colonizing, due to the fact that the world was already teeming with life. While the species was neither advanced nor civil, the Guardians dedicated a small force to study these strange creatures. It was many years before the Guardians would learn much about them, but they continued to study. Then one day they encountered another approaching ship. At first they believed that they were a replacement force, and then it happened. The ship opened fire on the Guardians. The cannons spared neither mercy nor souls. A few Guardians escaped that day, as the hordes of mysterious invaders began to ravage the planet below. Barely a week later, the Guardians returned in full force to confront the invaders and protect the people below. The battle was long and brutal, in which there was no victory. The invaders fled, but the cost was high. The people of the planet looked to the Guardians and gave them rest and shelter. The Guardians soon after classified the planet as Earth and its inhabitants as humans. The Guardians that day made a silent pledge to watch over the world. Soon, this pledge was to be put to the test. During the up-and-coming months, the Guardians fought and defended on Earth several times. Humans soon joined into the fight to defend their homes and their lands. As the fighting continued, the Guardians decided to take the fight to the invaders, the Immortals. In this, the Guardians were too gifted, with longer lives. The gods favoured their cause. They believed they were wrong. In the fiery chasms of Duat, its monarch immortal was born, breathed onto the world of the condemned like a plague. The immortal Blackfire was a true horror to all who felt its wrath. The Guardians were overwhelmed by the force of Blackfire's power. The Guardians and their immortal leader attacked her. Throughout the next 1,000 years, the cost of war was high. Entire worlds were lost in the Great Crusade. Blood was shed in the stars and over 100 worlds before the final battle began. In the birth of the final battle, a third immortal was born on Earth, the son of a Guardian and a human. That child was quickly taken to Avalon for his protection. The child's name was Michael. Michael would spend the next 50 years being raised for combat of all sorts. Outside Avalon, Tefra massed his forces to the borders of the demons' empires. Blackfire launched his own crusade, creating a creature of unparalleled power, the Ultimation. The creature was summoned by some of the greatest summoners of the Genomic clans, were used to call the beast to arms. Entire cities were lost before in its might. The Guardians arrived at the planet of Terra. Animarum, it was a world that had been laid waste by the Ultimation. Men, women, children, all butchered by the creature and its dark masters. The Guardians were enraged by the slaughter. In a spate of madness, they initiated the bloodiest part of their campaign on the demons, the massacre of Angor II. The planet was the first of many in the demons' empire, and the Guardians were all too eager to commence their attack. They opened fire thousands of shots into the planet from all sides. After the bombardment of the ships emptied their troops onto the planet and their orders were simple: kill all who still live. The planet was left coated in the blood of demons and their slaves. The world burned, and the Guardians left. None would ever forget the slaughter, nor would they want to remember. That day, the stars shed tears. Not for the dead, but for those who killed them. Many would be overcome with grief of their sins. The Guardians continued to push forth, though, into the demons' territories, engaging into warfare of all kinds. The Guardians eventually made it to Duat. Duat was surrounded by fleets of starships, many of which were miles wide and long. The battle to Duat landed on the edge of the knife. As Blackfire and Chefra moved on the planet's moons, the Guardians and the demons battled to the death. Blackfire and Chefra clashed and landed 3 days straight before eventually Blackfire wounded Tefra with a fatal stroke. With a blade, Tefra knew that he would die in this moment. Instead of giving the pain, though Tefra took his sword and slung it into the air. Blackfire watched in utter confusion as Tefra let the blade pierce his heart. But in that moment, the sword took Tefra's soul and will. The sword flared blinding light from its ruby. Then the light began to consume the demon world and all upon it. Soon, the demonic fleet was sucked into the light, or had fled. Thousands of starships disappeared into the light. Blackfire was next. The light sucked in Duat's moon and the inhabitants upon it. When the light cleared, the Guardian's fleet had been left in the void of deep space, looking into the gateway of a black hole. The black hole sealed itself with an unknown magic of unparalleled power, and to the Guardians who remained, the battle was over. The war was won, for now, the black hole that had imprisoned the demons was to be given many names by many races, but the one which echoed across the universe was Tartarus. Many knew it only as the Pit of Despair. During the time of the war's final days, Michael was moved home to Earth, where he would perform the duty and role as the Earth's protector. With only a small group of Guardians, he would defend the Earth and maintain the peace as best as he could. Michael did many things in his first years on Earth, slaying the demons that had remained from the beginning of the Great Crusade. Michael slew the Titans of Greece and searched for the deities of Earth for many years before settling his people in the City of the Sea. Michael would meet many great men in his time, from King Arthur and his knights to demon hunter Van Helsing. As time passed, some things became clear, while others more murky. For 3,500 years, Michael and his people lived in the shadows of mankind, forever preparing for the inevitable day, the day Tartarus opened, the day the wrath of Blackfire would be felt again, the return of true evil. Soon that day will come. Soon this will be that story. Soon this will be their story. That was Salvation Chronicles in the beginning. You can find it on Amazon, and it's out now.